All right, to get started, I want you to download the project I've attached to this lecture. We're going to use this project throughout this section. Now, here in the terminal, we need to install Jest, but the way we install it is a little bit different from how we install other Node packages. So we run npm install Jest just like before, but we add --save--dev flag. Because Jest is a development dependency, when we deploy our application, we don't want to deploy Jest to the production environment. So it's not part of the production bundle. Okay? All right, so note the version I'm using. That's version 22.2.2. Now back in the project, let's go to package.json. You can see Jest is installed under dev dependencies because it's purely a development tool. Now, to run our tests, we're going to make a simple change here. So in package.json, we have this property, scripts, and the properties we have here, in this case test, these properties define commands that we can execute in the command line. For example, here, to execute this command, we go back to terminal and run npm test. Now look at what we get here. We get echo, error, no test, specified, and exit 1. What we have here is the value of the test property in package.json. So this echo basically displayed this message here, and exit 1 terminated this process. So back in package.json, this is the default value when you create a new Node project. We're going to change this and set this to Jest. This Jest here is the command line interface that comes with Jest that we use to run our tests. You can find this under node modules.bin or binary, and here's Jest. Okay, so with this, we can go back to terminal, run npm test one more time. This time we get a different output, no tests found. So this is the pattern that Jest uses to locate our test files. So any file that ends with spec or test.js is treated as a test file. So let's go ahead and create our first test. Back in the project, let's add a new folder, tests. We put all our tests here. Now, in this section, we're going to write tests for this module, lib.js. In this module, you can see I have exported various functions. Now, don't worry about the details. In each lecture, we're going to explore one function in detail. So, in our tests folder, let's add a new file, lib.test.js. Note the naming convention. So we add the name of the module we want to test, and after that we add .test or .spec.js. Now here to write the test, we call the test function. This is one of the functions that comes with Jest. We give it two arguments. The first argument is the name of our test, and that's what we will see on the console. So let's call this our first test. The second argument is a function where we implement our test. When we run our tests, Jest will call this function. So let's create a function using the arrow function syntax. Okay. Now, this is an empty test. That's enough for now. In the next lecture, we're going to come back and modify this. So back in the terminal, let's run npm test one more time. Okay, this time we get a different output. Pass with a green label. This is the name of our test file. Below that, you can see a green tick. And here's the name of our test, our first test. And next to that, you can see the time it took to execute this test. And below that, you can see a summary of all the tests that have been passed or failed. Now, if we go back to our test and make a change here, let's throw a new error. Something failed. Now, back in the terminal, let's run npm test one more time. This time we have a failing test. So we have this fail with a red label. You can see which test failed. And below that, you can see the line that caused the test to fail. So you can see this happened on line 3.